Greetings, beings. Jacob Martinez, Crystal Haiku Guy from artoflove.me. I'm back with your August readings. These will go for the first half of August. I wanted to wish all of my Leo viewers a very happy birthday. It is your season. Rawr! Hope you're making the most of these auspicious energies. And, please note that this is an M for mature audiences only channel. Okay, so legal, adults, wherever you're watching this, only. I use strong language. It's how I talk. And I don't really buffer what I'm hearing. If I take my time, that's just how I read. There are 5-minute readers, 10-minute readers here. I'm not that guy. I'm actually the 4-video guy. I do 4 videos that end up being long. Why? Because as long as the tech works, I record everything I'm doing. And part of the reason why is because of how my guides and your guides speak to me. They talk to me in tribal elements. So I break them down by tribal elements. That's what I call them. We're going to start with fire tribes because it's Leo season. So after that, we'll do air, earth, and then water. Because I rotate them to make sure they're fair based on what I did last time. And last time we were doing water because it was still Cancer season. So that's how I do them. If you don't like watching the prayer, the energy calibration, and the messages that seem to pop up while I'm shuffling and stuff, feel free to jump ahead. You can do that with your sun, your moon, and your rising in any of those 4 videos by just simply going under the video where the description box is, click show more, and then you'll see some hyperlinks. Those just jump you to the right chapter. So just jump to whatever sign you want. And I do recommend seeing sun, moon, and rising. I think that usually helps put together a bigger context, because I can't get this right for everybody. Don't be offended. These are general readings. If you don't like some of the polarizing messages that sometimes come up, try to keep in mind that this is a free service to others. And many of the people that might be watching this might be calling out and reaching out at a really rough time in their life. And sometimes that message is for them. And if you hear it and it grabs onto you a little bit, just hear it, because maybe in the next couple weeks, it might bring a context to something happening in your own life. And there's also a very good chance that it has nothing to do with you too. So just keep that in mind. Watch your sun, moon, and your rising, and try not to take anything in a negative way. A lot of times I do get a polarizing message, and that's simply because the guides are trying to help the people that want to know that kind of stuff understand things that might be happening in their life so that they can sort of navigate those situations a little bit more advantageously. So I might not be your guy if you don't like that. There are a lot of people that will only read the sunny side up of things, and I can't. It's just not who I am. So just know that, and I'm praying for you if you're that stressed out, okay? The other thing, I'm going to probably misgender for a lot of people, so please apply whatever gender makes most sense to you. That can be really elusive and tricky, and I'm not foisting any of that on anybody. I do my best to try to hear and experience however the gender reads itself to me, but that's kind of hit or miss, and I think mostly a miss. So please use what makes sense to you, and if it doesn't make sense the way I said it, use whichever one makes sense for you, please. I'm going to do 5 cards. We're going to start with Carolyn Mrs. Archetype cards. Those are going to give us like a context for the month, so you can have like an overview of how the energy might wobble. So we go over a light and a shadow. We're going to use the Rider-Waite Smith deck for the physical material realm. We'll use the Psychic Tarot deck by John Holland for the mental sector, and for the personal and sometimes romantic sector, we will be using Doreen Virtue's Romance Angels. And I like to wrap them all up with a little advice and a prayer led by Archangel Michael, and I'll just kind of wave my hands and sprinkle some light in your direction at the end of these. So that's how I do them. I hope you like them. If you do, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Share, subscribe. You can leave me a comment. I'm not really doing personals right now. Maybe into August I will. It's the end of July while I'm doing this right now. And my schedule's been really full. I've got multiple projects going on, plus my clients that are here in my area. And so I haven't really been able to take on anything new. I do have a little bit of a waiting list that I've been accumulating from some of you amazing people here that have shown some interest in reading with me, and I will definitely be notifying when I can bring those on. I just I've had a lot to deal with here, and I've actually been referring some of those readings out, so if you don't have another reader you can access right now and just had a question about who I work with or whatever, feel free to hit me up for that. Feel free to hit me up for a prayer too. I always make time for this stuff. Girls, boys, and others. I just I stop for stuff like that. And when I can offer the personals again, I will certainly let you know. If you want to get on my list, feel free to just subscribe here or on my blog, artoflove.me, and that's where I send the notifications. So thank you for that. God bless you for being here, especially at this crazy time where we're all starting to see what's been going on collectively, because now they're letting us know. I think that's why it looks so polarizing out there. Keep in mind, this stuff's been going on for a really long time. We're just being made aware of it now. Even those of us who have thrown out our fucking TVs. And it can be tough to cope with that. So do whatever you need to be doing to take care of yourself at this time. Because the world really needs more healthy, balanced, loving, compassionate people that are not so reactive, constantly pointing fingers at others, and just trying to instigate fights. So some of us aren't doing that, and I think the more of us that employ those tactics, the quicker things can actually start to change. So I honor the part of you in your life that had you looking for anything like this to help you understand things from a different perspective so that you could get through whatever it is that you're dealing with in your life. God bless you for that. I love you for it, and I'll see you on the inside of your video. Earth signs, happy August to you. Just gonna get started here on your reading, and we're gonna go Capricorn, Taurus, and then Virgo. I've got a shuffle, and when I put the cards down, they're all backs up until I go sign by sign, so just so you know. I was sort of like just meditating here. Oh, first of all, guide said green right now. Lots of green. I was getting that for all the signs, and they had me in a green bandana the past couple days, and today they said Jakob. Green shirt. So, here we go. Heart chakra. And I gotta say, I was feeling like a really sort of uptight feeling when I was tuning into earth signs, and not trying to superimpose that onto all y'all, but I'm hearing some of y'all need to CTFO, chill the fuck out, right? Easier said than done, I realize it, but there was like a just a really tense sort of feeling that was making me feel like just relax. Like I needed to say that to you. And so they're also saying, now's a really good time to make some efforts to find things that are going to tickle your funny bone, because a sense of humor is going to be a little bit of an antidote right now. I know some of y'all are going through some, heavy stuff. And that's not to minimize by saying, oh, go have a laugh. I'm not trying to trivialize anything for you. So please don't take it that way. Simply stating that, when we have like these like massive buckets of our stability being heaved out the window for whatever probably very valid reason life is giving us, or reasons with an S, right? It's important to find even just like tiny little things that we can do to supplement back and keep that bucket of stability full as well as stable. And so, I don't know what that is for you, but, you should know for yourself that there are probably some things that just kind of put a little smile on your face or bring it back to center, and look for ways to inject that into your day if you're going through something hectic. Because I was just feeling like they were showing me a card. Sometimes I get an image straight off of cards and decks that I'm familiar with, and it's one of the images from John Holland's Psychic Tarot Oracle deck. I'm pretty sure it's the Five of Cups card, but it's a guy, it's a person. Actually, it's a green card. And there's someone who I would identify as male. It can be, any gender, though. So, they, he, she, whatever. This person's just kind of like standing like this, like moment of silence kind of image, like they lost something. I think it's the emotional loss card, actually, is what it is that they're showing me. And just like a sad kind of, pent up tight feeling that I'm getting. And, this is a really good month for the healing of the heart space. And so whatever it is that you need in order to kind of get that like warm blanket feeling over that space that's aching, feels like this is a good couple weeks for it, Earth signs. So if that appeals to anybody here, I'm just going to recommend that you consider those warm blanket eliciting things that you can do that just help. Some people, scent, like smell therapy, or what do you call that? Scent therapy. Yeah, scent therapy can be really good. Like aromatherapy, that's the word I was looking for. But yeah, some people respond really well to that, or just like the smell of like soup on the stove, or, maybe lavender, a little splash of lavender on your pillow, just something that's going to help calm and maybe bring a state of relax, because that would be really good right now. And anything you can do to get into your body and get into like something green, like outside, if you can, go out for a little bit, pop a squat, take your shoes off, frolic, watch a good movie, watch something that makes you giggle a little bit even when you're feeling shitty. Alright, this is just like really stupid and you probably will think it's ridiculous, but like, I can watch Legally Blonde. I know, I said it. And, it makes me laugh. And, like, I was going through a really rough time over the past recent years over my own emotional losses. And that was one of my go-to movies. Like, that and, I don't know, Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Totally dorky. I grew up in the 90s. But, there might be some things that just kind of give you a little bit of a sense of, hey, this is okay, but just like right now, and it's okay to have those programmed on a button where you can give yourself that if you need it. I call those happy antidotes. Love antidotes. And sometimes you gotta love yourself a lot to get through some of that shit. So, whatever it is for you, I hope you're doing it. And if you want somebody to pray for you, hit me up. I'm already praying for you, but I'll pray for you personal. So, back to the shuffle. I was hearing some lyrics and I was trying to like remember the name of the song while I was just shuffling the Psychic Tarot Oracle deck and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck for the material and the mental realms. And I was hearing but you didn't have to cut me off, make it like it never happened and that we were nothing. I guess that I don't need you though, you treat me like a stranger and it feels so rough. What's that song called? Somebody That I Used to Know, I think. I was hearing that. Now you're just somebody that I used to know. So maybe that's who that emotional loss card was for. I don't know. That's a really good song. And I don't know. It's almost kind of like somebody is just going through the emotional motions, if you will, of that storyline of a relationship that kind of didn't work out in a way where, you know, one person like just really cut off, got real cold, and sort of just left you hanging thinking that, like, what did I do wrong, you know, and making you just like constantly question if it was something that you were doing wrong, you know. And it's got like a real sadness to it in some way, but at the same time it's like this anthem about like, you know what, don't need you. Good song. What's the guy's name that sings it? I forget the original artist's name, but there's actually a female vocalist named Lindsay Paveo that did a really killer, like a really good cover of it. But it's called Somebody That I Used to Know. You might want to check that one out. So I'm sorry if that happened to you. That sucks, you know, but I'm glad that you're making it through, especially if that's the song that's coming up for you, because that's like reclaiming your essence. It's like calling back your chi, you know, and really realizing who you are, you know, and knowing who you're not. And sometimes there's no real way for you to find the place to honor that detail until you kind of get breached there, you know. It's like somebody kind of has to kick the shit out of you there for you to realize, wait a second, this isn't even accurate, you know, and then you find yourself in that. So painful mirrors, and I apologize to you for any pain that you may be feeling, and, you know, I'm not trying to polarize it any further, but I get it. I feel you. Yeah, that's all I'm getting on that right now, so I'm going to put this down. I've got 2 more decks to shuffle, and then we'll pick it up. I gotta say, these aren't your cards. It was just like too many I dropped. It was like a ton of prayers. But I know people hate it if you don't look at the cards, so I'm like stacking them in my hand, and the one that's on top I will read and do as a prayer right now. Have confidence, earth signs. That's appropriate, especially if you're who that song was for. Okay. Dear Archangel Michael, please lend me your courage and your fortitude. Help me realize that I'm one with all that is divine wisdom, strength, love, creativity, abundance, and health. Allow me to feel confident, peaceful about myself in all ways. Amen. Okay. Alright, so I just laid everything down, earth signs, and like I said, we're gonna go Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo. I think it was you guys and girls and others. I'm trying to remember. I think it was you guys last month that was getting that shield yourself message. I'm like getting it again. And I'm seeing it the same way, so forgive me if this is redundant to anyone. Again, you do not have to watch any of this. And there are hyperlinks below. You can just go to your sign if you want, but I'm hearing a call to shield yourself and protect yourself. And I was getting it a couple weeks ago too when I was doing these readings. And I thought it was for fire sign. Oh no. Was it maybe? No, it wasn't fire signs. I thought it was for earth signs is what I meant to say. But I was seeing like a person, okay? And they were like kind of going down and like grabbing like a light sheet or something. It was like a sheet of light is what it looked like. And just like pulling it over their head to protect themselves. And they were like, y'all's guides now, whether that was you or not last time, are showing me that image again and saying to tell you about this because now is a good time to protect yourself energetically. And that's nothing to be frightened about. It's not saying that, you know, you should be afraid. So if that's something that you're perceiving from what I'm saying, let's do a cancel, clear, delete real quick, because what I'm actually saying to you is that I'm hearing that your energetic sensitivities have been refined somewhat, and this is a good thing. Anytime something like that happens, it means that, you know, there's been like an improvement. There's been a lightening of your energetic signature. And with that, there's good housekeeping things that you can do to maintain the cleanliness of that vibration and awareness. Okay, so that happens a lot of times when you release karma, especially really old, painful, deep karma, like the kind of shit that might have you feeling heartbroken, over, that soulmate or twin flame or just that person that you cared a lot about, and it doesn't have to be romantic, but for a lot of people it is, or was, or they thought it was. And sometimes it's those questions that just really can, like, eat away at you. And I've been getting, like, this, free yourself, liberate yourself kind of energy. I was hearing it when I was doing the signs yesterday. I started with fire signs. I think that's where I was hearing that. So, I don't know, maybe you have some fire in your chart, too. Or maybe you're dealing with some people that are, they have fire tribe elements in their constitution. They might be sun, moon, rising people that are, rocking some Aries, Leo, or Sag. And they're kind of going through this too, some of them. It's like coming out on the other side, though. It's like realizing what you went through and then sort of like reassessing it from the new point of view as the person that realized, hey, that thing I was getting accused for, or how I got treated unfairly, or whatever it was, really wasn't true. This is actually who I am. And then from that point of view, seeing it again. And when you do it that way, it's like it literally like changes what happened. There's some liberation in that nuance there. And every time you burn 1 calorie in the consumption of that thought from the new perspective, you've literally burned and released karma. Let that blow your mind. So there's a very interesting sort of internal alchemy that happens when you give yourself the time and space to do that. And so keep your namaste space clean in that you've learned. And one thing that will be really helpful and beneficial right now is just, maintaining that sensitivity, because that's going to be like a barometer, right? Going forward, a new way to sort of evaluate life and have an extra spidey sense, if you will. So, shield yourself. Look into, perhaps doing a cleanse. I would recommend getting energy work done from somebody that can help you. Do some chakra clearing. I was saying body work a lot to the fire signs. I think that would be great for you too. And be really loving. It'll help you get into your body too, especially if you're grieving things. There's something that happens when you actually address this stuff on like the body level. There's a somatic release that can happen, which is really helpful, especially if, any of it's really deep trauma. Like some people, dealing with, deep trauma that's caused even things like PTSD. I actually have people that I work with like that, and they respond really well to somatic release techniques, and some of them, not everyone, of course, use your intelligence with this, but there are also some things that are really simple that you can do for yourself, like emotional freedom technique, EFT. It's a kind of like tapping that you do, and you say things and you just tap very gently in different places, and it helps to release energy that's been wound into your cells and into your actual physical being. So hopefully that's helpful for somebody. I think it's just good stuff to know how to do, and something really easy to shield yourself. Just imagine that, and you can take your hand, take whichever hand you prefer, and just touch yourself right here in the center of your chest, like right where my logo is, right here. Put your hand right there. And just breathe into this space. And what's going to happen is that your energy and awareness will go to the spot where you're touching yourself. So when you breathe into that space, you're just basically giving your body and your energy permission to move your awareness here, where your solar plexus, your healthy sense of ego and self, is shining its light out. Just imagine it coming around you and enveloping you in almost like a white, golden halo of light. Your light. The light that you are. And be free in that space, because you are protected there. So you can carry that with you anywhere you go, anytime, any place. Okay, I think that's all I had for that. And alright, we're going to go ahead and jump into Capricorn. And I think what I'm going to do first, that was kind of heavy, I'm going to just hit pause for a second. I'm going to jump up and down. I'm going to light one piece of sage, and then we're going to roll. Actually, my guides told me no sage, but to take a swipe with the Terra healing incense and to mention that to you guys. Somebody might be interested in this particular kind of incense. It's a healing incense. It's I believe it's Indonesian kind of formulation, and it's spelled Tara, and it comes in sort of like a rosy red colored box, kind of like how they sell like Nagchampa, you know. So alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started on Capricorn. I'm gonna flip your cards here, Capricorn. How you doing? Happy August. Can you believe it's here already? I'm just pretty impressed with how quickly this year seems to have progressed. It's been a shock for me. Let's go ahead and flip your cards. I was hearing family healing here. Okay, no, actually, one of your cards did say that. I'm just going to jump forward. Archangel Michael's advice / prayer card for you, Capricorn, says your children are watched over by angels. So I think that's pretty important for someone to know. There's been a lot of some of it did feel traumatizing, I'll be honest. Stuff like wounded child sort of feelings coming up for some of the signs over the past month. And I think this is key for somebody to know. And you know, they're saying this is a good time right now for all of the signs to really focus on heart healing. It's just a good time in the world, in the cosmos, where we all live, where we are all one big tribe, to heal the collective heart chakra. My guides were just like all over me with color therapy, and you know, before I got started on all these readings, they had me, you know, wearing some green, and they told me, you know, especially for earth signs and water signs, what I'm doing today here on the 25th, green shirt. I said, green shirt, Jacob. Talk to him about green, healing the heart. I don't know if you heard everything from, you know, the beginning and the shuffle. I'm not going to repeat it for anybody that didn't want to hear all that. But if you're interested in some heart healing and so forth, there was some discussion about that might be relevant for you. But, you know, whoever you are, really just hope you're hearing the message that's coming straight from Archangel Michael here, that your children are watched over by angels. So, you know, that can be children that are here. That can also be children that are not here. Fill in the blank, whatever makes sense to you there. And we're just going to pray over you real quick. I'm going to start yours this way, and then we'll take the rest of the reading. But this is important for now. So, Capricorn. We're praying for you. Okay. Dear guardian angels of my children, both born and unborn, thank you for watching over my children and ensuring their happiness and safety. Please guide me so that I know the best ways to be a good parent and role model for my own and other people's children. Amen. I'm actually going to dovetail on that because I'm getting another message here, and this isn't necessarily romantic, although the card's going to look romantic. Very romantic. And hey, for some of y'all it actually is, and we'll get to that later. You know, it's a nice looking image there, of course, for romance. But the love yourself first was really jumping off here, and I was getting an image of like a child that didn't come full term, is what I'm hearing, but I'm seeing it in different ways. Like I'm seeing unwanted, termination. And also just someone wanting really badly to conceive here. And really having to go within to learn to support the part that's feeling unfulfilled. Like just not full at all. And you know, the angels are actually just saying the key here right now, I'm not trying to oversimplify, I know this is easy for me to say, even if you're, you know, going through something really polarizing right now, but you have to love yourself right now. You deserve love. And it doesn't have to do anything with wanting to attract a romantic partner, so please let me just say that for, you know, who this message is intended for. This is not about that, clearly, with you. These, you know, these cards are like, they can be guideposts. I don't always need them, you know, but sometimes they just give you a story. And I'm really sorry if you're someone who is really dealing with this oppressive hurt feeling about your children. And I'm not making light, just saying that, you know, if you have babies in heaven, that, you know, you should feel better. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to patronize you like that, but I do want you to know that someone showed up to acknowledge it. And we want your heart healed. Okay? Sorry if that was heavy for everybody else. I'm going to go ahead and just jump from the beginning, and I just felt like I had to do that. And if that's you and you want somebody to pray for me, for you, if you want someone to pray for you, hit me up. And, you know, I'll be happy to pray for you. I'm already praying for you. Put it that way. Alright. And for everybody else that is not affected by that, you know, please feel free to have ignored that message. And also, please feel free to pray for the people who that message applies to, because that is your brother, your sister, some other person that is a part of your tribe. And honestly, when one person's hurting like that, we're all hurting. Whether or not we're sensitive enough to feel it in those subtle energies yet, we're all connected. So, you know, green all around, heart healing. We're one big tribe. Overall archetypal energy for the month, Capricorn. Night. Night energy, I love it. That's actually a really deep green right there too. I believe they call that hunter or forest green. It's not showing up so green here. It looks a little bluish in the screen, but here it's green, believe me, you. Here's what the energy says off the card. Light attributes: loyalty, romance, and chivalry. A love of honor. Shadow attributes: allegiance to a destructive ruler or principle. Romantic delusions. I'm gonna grab the book here and just get a little more detail out of here. If anybody's interested in this deck, I really recommend it. It's cool. Carolyn misses archetype cards. For me, these kinds of oracles have always been really helpful because I think when you use them like this, they give a really good idea of like a context element of energy that is at play for the time period. So, you know, for the next couple weeks, first part of August, Capricorn, it's looking like the night. And so the energy is sort of like the sway, like which way things can teeter-totter. And that can have a lot to do with how you're acting even. You know, and this can be like any of the nights in the, you know, standard decks too. Sometimes I see, you know, when a night energy is coming up like this, that, you know, it's somebody acting like one of the knights. And, you know, if you're dealing with like, you know, Rider-Waite tarot deck or something along those lines, you know, these are the ones that get up and do stuff. Sometimes they don't, you know, always represent a person either. It's just how things are happening. And so they explain how the energy works. And here is how your month is going to go, or the first part. Okay, a few buzzwords to keep in mind. See also warrior and rescuer. Those are also archetypes here in the book. 3 bullet points and a tip. First bullet point: associated with chivalry, courtly romance, loyalty, self-sacrifice, protecting the princess, and going to battle only for honorable causes. Second one says, has spiritual overtones of service and devotion. And the last one says, shadow knight manifests as an absence of honor and chivalry or loyalty to a questionable ruler or principle. And then the tip that they've given us to keep in mind is to look for a pattern of service to others that straddles the line between self-sacrifice and self-neglect. Wow. That last part of that tip really sounds like a lot of Capricorns I know. You know, y'all are, I think, arguably the most tenacious, right? You know, that mountain goat knows how to get shit done. And it doesn't always know when to say when it's too much for them, because nothing's too much to a Capricorn. They're like, no, I got this, right? And even if they're like dying inside, they find it in them to just keep going, and they're constantly pushing those thresholds and growing and growing and growing. And that's why they're like the super badasses, right? That's why, you know, Mars, the planet, you know, of like fighting and fucking and getting shit done, is exalted in that sign of Capricorn, because in Capricorn, you know, Capricorn's the one that just gets it done, really. It's a very wise, tenacious energy. And they're just saying, you know, y'all have been kicking ass. And granted, there's a shit show going out there in the world, and maybe in here too, and a lot of you are doing professions where you are the one that is called to action, and so it's almost like ridiculous for somebody like me to even suggest, oh hey, you know, try to cool down, you know. And I'm not trying to step on your toes, Capricorn. I get it. I also realize that you are a human being in a flesh suit that needs care. And sometimes you need to stop and make a sandwich, or have somebody bring one to you, you know, and take care of yourself. Okay? I was getting this a lot for, who was it? I think it was one of the air signs. And it was just, you know, about, you know, you can't give from an empty well. So, especially if you're like in some sort of public service to others, you know, servicing this population of world gone mad. You gotta take care of yourself. Okay, so other part of this too that I'm seeing is I was kind of noticing, you know, physical material realm. We've got the Rider-Waite-Smith deck card of the Tower, which is a major arcana for sure. I know people don't love seeing this one sometimes, but I will mention it came upside down, so, you know, sometimes this is, you know, the shitstorm that passed already. Other times it's, you know, just kind of like trying to pick up the pieces, is what I'm hearing, from whatever destructive thing came in and just kind of like blew shit up. And it might take everything in you to really find the strength to do it, but I'm being told that you've got it. And you know this, you're a Capricorn. Spiritual Strength, 9. John Holland Psychic Tarot Oracle deck. This is, AKA, so if we're in, you know, this deck, that would be your 9 of Wands. And although you don't see the wounded soldier here, perhaps, maybe you just see like a monk or somebody that looks like they got it together. See yourself, Capricorn. You know, a lot of times that's that front, you know, that you got down. That's why people always come to you. They don't know that you're like, just like trying to hold it together inside yourself, right? It's okay. Breathe. I keep getting like this really high breath. It's like right here, like somebody's really having a hard time breathing. Like I'm feeling some upper respiratory something, and you might not want to hear this, but they're saying this is inflammatory response and you might want to lay off the dairy. Don't shoot the messenger. But that's like mucus, and that's exacerbating the stress issue. 45 to 60 days off of that type of allergen might be enough to help clear up some of that congestion, you know, and like guaifenicin or something might help flush that. Milk thistle's great, lots of liquids, good water, lots of good water. If you take the milk thistle, make sure it's got silymarin in it, otherwise it's not going to really bind right. But, yeah, that was really specific for somebody. Sorry, I go off on tangents. But, for the ones that aren't having an inflammatory response in your lungs that feels asthmatic, I'm feeling like almost like an asthma attack for somebody. But for those of you that aren't having like an asthma, it's just taking a moment to process is what I'm hearing, because you didn't really get to miss a beat is what they're telling me. It's like it happened so fast, and even if it didn't quite happen, like you're saying, well, it didn't happen, I avoided it. Well, okay, yeah, maybe, sure, yes. Not disagreeing. However, the energy is still in the field and it still hasn't quite been expressed. So in some ways, the way that might feel as a weight on somebody, if it's just needing to be expressed some way, can take a lot of strength. And sometimes, darlings, You know, if you haven't found a way to do that and your breathing's getting up here like this, you know, it's all you can do to hold it together before something snaps or pops. And you've got a lot of strength, but that doesn't mean you need to be carrying the burden like that. So I'm just getting a real strong message to express that. Okay? There are things that you know how to do that help you move that energy out so that you can, you know, reclaim your breath space. Look into breath work. There's a technique, I believe it's called, might pronounce it wrong, it's called Buteyko, Buteyeko, and it's actually like it's not taking deep breaths, it's more like really slow, like sips of breath that move through your entire body. It's a real conscious breathing thing. And like yoga would be so good right now, and I'm that guy that does yoga, and that's always going to recommend that. So, you know, if you don't want to go to a class, I don't blame you. I look so stupid in those pants, like, you know, I don't need to do that with anybody that's not my girlfriend. And, you know, I do it with tapes. I got like tapes, you know, video on demand. I can turn that shit on, but like, you know, spiritual strength. This is feeling really yogic to me, and I think that might be helpful right now. And I think, you know, you just need to be, you know, giving yourself that namaste space. So good for you, and let me be the one that's congratulating you for knowing that truth. Because maybe you just needed to hear that confirmation that it's okay for you to take a break, Capricorn. And just because they're all like texting while you're eating your lunch and you're trying to take a pee, that doesn't mean you just have to jump. Like, literally, you're not ignoring people by taking time to take care of those needs without explaining your need to take care of yourself. So let me be the one to remind you to let yourself off the hook for that, because I know some of y'all are doing it. I know you. Don't do that to yourself. You can't give from an empty well, you know what I mean? You gotta have some water in the well. And let's see what this book says. I know you want to hear it. Okay. Oh, that's the other thing I should mention. Good point for y'all, because I know you're wondering how much more of this do I have to go through. I just heard it. Okay, because like some of y'all are really familiar with this deck, right? And this deck, Rider-Waite-Smith, you know, anytime you get one of these like suit cards, like a wand, you know, they go like ace to 10. And so it means like if we were in that deck, oh Jesus Christ, I gotta keep holding this, you know. Well, where's the other wand coming, right? Well, guess what? Good news. This is the end. This is the end in this deck. This one is the very end. This one only goes 1 through 9. You're done. You're done. Don't feel like you gotta keep like pushing through, okay? Just now's the time to recoup, ground the space, because you actually pushed your container bigger is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you like you pushed it bigger. It's like the space is expanded. And if you want to maintain the integrity of that which you have built, it's time to actually cultivate that space. I know that'll make sense to some of y'all. So here's what the book says. 9. Spiritual strength. This card is coming forth to give encouragement and remind you that you have the inner strength to complete whatever you've been working on. This final spirit card represents courage, discipline, stability, and persistence. You may be tired or weary from the struggle, but now is not the time to give in. Instead, tap into all of your inner reserves for that one final push to achieve the desired outcome. And what I'm being told is that's not an externalization. That's one final push for you. Maybe for some of you to keep pushing through, but no. I'm getting a call to, like, push yourself to love yourself. You've been through so much to get to this point, and even though you may have acquired some scars from the battle, you're wiser and stronger for it. The enlightenment you've gained will be an invaluable resource. You may also notice that you're experimenting with different things in your life at this time. All of these experiences feed your spirit and offer you knowledge for the future. So, enjoy the new stuff. You know, you worked for it, and when they say push through for you. Make sure you're giving yourself what you need. And back to this card, love yourself first. During Virtue's Romance Angels Oracle deck, you know, could have a romantic implication. Sure, great, yeah, if that's the case, and you're like looking for a partner, taking care of yourself, always very attractive. Super attractive. You're going to get somebody that's going to know how to pay attention to the stuff that you worked on. You know, they're going to meet you at that level. So that's really important if you're looking. And if you're not looking and you're just freaking busy and you've been out being the knight, saving people and rescuing kittens out of trees and, you know, defying gravity when shit blows up and houses are on fire, holding it together, being the pillar of strength for everybody. Guess what? It's time to love yourself now. Great 2 weeks for that. Highly recommend it. Especially if you're healing some family crisis, some kind of issues, or even if this is old. It doesn't mean that you can't feel it. And let me just say that for whoever it is, because somebody's guide's just telling me she needs to hear it. Okay? Time here is immaterial, really. I mean, it feels like something here. And that's where you can trap yourself, especially when you're used to being dutiful and always doing everything right and, you know, really holding it together and crossing everything off your list. You know, we can get into a trap of thinking that, oh, well, I'm not entitled to feel this now, you know, or I can't have this grief now because X amount of years has passed and that makes me weak, or, you know, or like I can't say it safely or have the space to do it. And you know what? That's never true. Feel your feelings. And I hope that you are finding ways to make that safe for yourself. Especially if you don't really have, like, partners to enter into that safe dialogue with. You know, look for friends. Find some support. There's a lot of support. And the thing is, though, you've got to come to a place where you allow yourself to even recognize a need there. And I think that's the hard part for the Capricorn. They're used to just, like, feeling that weight on them. And it's like they've gotten so good at it. They forget. Oh my gosh, you know what? I do kind of have needs. I guess I do. I mean, I can still hold it together, and so maybe I don't have needs. And so you kind of get yourself into, like, that thinking. No, you do have needs. Doesn't mean you can't hold it together. You're doing great. And you also deserve to be supported. Okay? It's been a long haul. Give yourself time to process whatever's been going on, or is kind of like at least in the periphery here. You know, this could just be people like acting crazy all around you, and maybe it's not major, but you're like watching the shitstorm and you're like, holy shit. You know, is this the world that I'm living in? And you're just like turning off the TV and just like, yeah, I know it's crazy outside, but I'm just gonna I'm gonna do my yoga and I'm gonna do my spiritual practice and kind of maintain. And you know what? Good call. Great time for that. Just remember, angels are showing up for you. Just to remind you, even if this isn't directly relevant, that there's support there. So, I'm going to keep you in my prayers, Capricorn. Hope this made sense to you. You know, if it did, like, share, subscribe. If you want someone to pray for you, I'm here. Hit me up. My email address is below. I'll always make time for that. And if I don't hear from you, I guess I'll see you in a couple weeks. I'll be back for your mid-monthly. So, God bless you. Take care, and talk to you soon. Just gonna move these cards and light a little piece of sage, and we'll move on to Taurus. taste a little jasmine incense too. So we got a little jasmine incense and some sage action going on for you, Taurus. Go and flip your cards. How you doing? You enjoying your August? I just heard the song again. You might not have watched the beginning. Don't blame me if you didn't want to. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Somebody had a really major kind of like breakup, separation thing going on, and I'm hearing it right now. I keep hearing that line. You didn't have to cut me off, make it like it never happened and then we were nothing. You know that song, now you're just somebody that I used to know. I'm sorry. I just feel like, somebody's feeling pretty betrayed right now, and you jump right up on my radar. And whoever you are, I'm praying for you. You got the same card that Aquarius got for your advice card from Archangel Michael, and so I'm just being led to bring that up first. It says it's time to leave this unhealthy situation. So if you're going through something, you probably had something jump right into your mind on that, and I'm just being told to remind you it's okay to trust your intuition on this, your own guidance, and your own knowingness of whatever it is that's relevant to you with regard to that. And they're saying you got the strength to do it, so just keep it in mind if that's something that's going on. And I'm praying for you, and I'm sorry if you're hurting. It sucks. They want you to know you have support, though. It's like somebody showed up to acknowledge it for you. That means something, right? So just know that there is some sort of support in your life, and if you want somebody to pray for you and you're not feeling the love, hit me up. I'll pray for you. You're not alone. Okay. We're going to go ahead and jump into the archetype now, because I'm sure that didn't apply to everybody. Overall archetypal energy for the month there, Taurus, is the Samaritan card from Carolyn Mrs. Archetype Cards. And that says, light attributes refines your capacity to help those you would prefer to ignore. And shadow attributes say, exacting appreciation and recognition for the help you offer. Sorry. Terribly sorry for that. I thought my ringer was off. It could actually wait. So this is the sort of context or challenge energy, if you will, that's being shown to us for the first part of the month of August. And I'm going to read to you from the book. Okay, Taurus, Samaritan. Closely related to the martyr, which is also an archetype card in this deck. Samaritans make sacrifices for those they might be least inclined to serve, as in the gospel parable of the Good Samaritan. The Shadow Samaritan helps one person or group to the detriment of another, his family, or society, implying a kind of self-importance that says that others must adhere to his choice of who is most deserving. Please forgive the male pronoun. Insert whichever one makes sense to you there. This is basically, they're trying to personify an energy and the way it works. And so it's not to say that that could only be like a male aspected sort of toxic dominance, that's what I would call that. But I think some of us might actually see how there are false good Samaritans that might show up even in like the political arena, presenting themselves as the ones who care for the afflicted, when truthfully they have extensive track records of being exploitative and demonstrative of their own toxic ego. So we might actually have some good examples of that, regardless of whatever your political affiliation is. I'm sure you've seen that from different characters. There's a tip here to keep in mind too, Taurus. Look for a continuing pattern of going out of your way to support others with no regard for whether they are family, strangers, or even enemies. Personally, it sounds like a lot of Taurians that I know. I mean, some of the most service-oriented people that I've met have some sort of strong Taurian influence in their chart. You know, literal good Samaritans, you know, people that service the public and put others before them. You know, I know a lot of people in like military and law enforcement that are doing this kind of work, even in situations where their well-being and safety is completely being dismissed, not even considered. You know, it reminds me of war vets, and so I'm hearing, you know, somebody is like really struggling with their position in a military outfit and feeling like betrayed, and having discovered that there was a fundamental misunderstanding of what the job was before they got involved. And I'm not going to say that that's easy to do, but the cards are saying it's pretty toxic for you right now. And, you know, if there was something else that you can do, you can extract yourself from the situation, it's a good time to do it, truthfully. Showing up in the physical material realm for the Taurians, first part of August. It's looking a little challenging there. That's, you know, Five of Pentacles in the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot deck. Not one of my favorite cards ever, really. Especially in the summertime, though. You know, this really implies just a feeling of kind of like isolation and just something glaringly different from how things maybe should be in an idealized way, if you were willing to look at things with the sunny side glasses on. But this could also be just how a situation is showing up in your world right now, because that is a physical manifestation card. That's what we asked for this to be here. And so it's a pentacle, which, you know, could be an earth sign like you, Taurus. You know, this could actually be you showing up as one of those characters or feeling like that going on. That could also be somebody else in your life, or like how something's making you feel. And I'm just hearing that, like, you know, somebody's love might have gone unrequited a little bit, and that they're mourning it. As you know, in the mental realm, using the John Holland Psychic Tarot Oracle deck, I got what we call the Heartache and Loss card in this deck. It's the Three of Swords and like the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's like two really sad cards, and so, you know, they're saying somebody's been really, really selfless, and it's like starting to hurt, you know, and they're really just starting to feel very depleted, and like it's just like their needs aren't being considered by other people. You know, they're so used to just showing up and like doing freaking triple axle backflips for others, catching them when there's no safety net. And then it's like, what about me? You know, and, you know, just kind of feeling like a little like you got the shaft. I'm sorry. calibration on these cards. We're going to pray for that. You know, I'm hearing for some of y'all, this was just like really, really necessary though, because without it, and this has to do with your childhood actually. It's like, you know, they made you kind of question if you were even good, is what I'm hearing. And like, it's almost like when somebody's like forcing religion down your throat and trying to, instead of teaching you about the love of your Savior and why we're all brothers and sisters and others and should be helping each other, you know, sometimes people that are really scared take an opportunity to ram their hate through this religious laundromat and, you know, make others feel badly about who or what they are. You know, they get told a lot, and so, you know, you grow up feeling like you're not good. And then the truth is you're really good, and, you know, you worked on yourself a lot, and you're beautiful. And you're light. And you end up with a bad tango partner. Someone that just ain't catching you. But it took you a while to really realize, wait a second, I'm not being caught here. And, you know, you kind of had to go through this to realize who you were and that you also deserve someone who is going to meet you where you are. Be there to reach for you so that you're not even worried if somebody's going to catch you when you fall. You know? Because that might even be a little abusive for some people. And you know who you are if that's the case. And it's like somebody's just kind of just squeaking by just enough. I mean, they're there with you, but it's a really broke feeling. You know, you're still wanting the warmth is what I'm hearing. You know, the companionship might be there. But it's like, you know, I notice you, and I notice your needs, and I anticipate you before you come for me. And it would feel nice if I didn't feel like I'm questioning whether you're even going to catch me, you know? And so I'm getting that for somebody really strong. And that might not be for all of you, and I really hope it's not. You know, this, like I said, it could very much be even somebody just like wanting something from you. This could be how people are feeling about you. I know a lot of you have just been overworking, honestly. I was feeling a lot of like tired, oppressed energy for some of you. Actually, all of the earth signs when I was meditating before. And, you know, if you're catching everybody and you're like catching all the bullshit and you're like, you know, making things right for everybody and just really applying your own spiritual strength and fortitude and what you know to help others, you know, maybe there are people in your world that are needing you too, you know, and feeling like, wait, you know, what about us? We need you. You're here, but we need more. Maybe you just feel like there's not enough to go around right now. That could be happening too, so but if this is just like, you know, I keep getting to, you know, like somewhat of like, and please don't get mad at me if this doesn't apply to you. It might just not be about you. This is a free service to others. And sometimes the people that land here and take the time to like go through these messages are really looking for some healing because they're in some bullshit that hurts. They're not always financially empowered to be able to get personal readings too, and they need to be acknowledged. And so sometimes these messages come through from their guides that talk to me really loud. Okay? If it's not for you, I'm sorry that, you know, it was not for you, but it might be a good time to just, you know, put a little empathy forward for the person that's struggling with this too, and realize that, you know, can't get right for everybody. So for the one that's struggling with that, and actually this is just showing up here, personal romantic sector, it's not always romantic, you know. Religious factors. It says, your love life is influenced by your religious upbringing and spiritual path. This could be ideological differences, difference in upbringing, you know, different religions for sure. This could also just be saying you're like being too much of a good Samaritan here, because that's how you were brought up. You were brought up to like put yourself absolutely last, even when you're feeling like, I don't know how I'm going to make it, you know, and even missing little things, huge things, like there's huge comforts here in this card. You know, this is Pentacles, there's wealth, there's abundance, everything is warm inside, there's like good incense, nice music, people that give a shit, you know, wine, they got good crackers, hors d'oeuvres, sometimes they've got a, you know, potluck after the service, and people that will help you, and you're missing it sometimes because you're too busy doing everything for everybody else. Even if you don't like those people, make sure you're doing it for the right reason, you know. Don't be twisty, shady. I don't think you are, though. I think some of y'all are just like busting your hump because somebody said, what would Jesus do? Or, you know, whatever. And maybe that's how you were brought up. And so it's like, okay, the world's going crazy. I've got to do all this. And oh, my heart's breaking. You know, I've got some real shit going on in my life. And I haven't taken time to, like, miss a beat. Because everybody else needs me. And what would Jesus do? You know? And so, like, whatever it is for you. It doesn't have to be about Jesus. Alright. I'm just going to read to you what the card says in the book. Alright here, Taurus. Religious factors. Your love life is influenced by your religious upbringing and spiritual path. This card reveals that religion and spirituality are subtle but important factors in your love life. Perhaps you're looking for a relationship with a partner who shares your spiritual beliefs. If so, this card comes to you as a guidance to seek your new partner at the church, temple, or meeting place associated with your faith. If you're currently with a partner who isn't spiritually minded or whose beliefs differ markedly from your own, you may feel dissatisfied. You may also be influenced by family traditions that expect you to marry within your own religion or culture. The romance angels are helping you address this issue, and they ask you to remain true to yourself during this process. Decide which factors you will and won't accept in your relationship and what your priorities are for your partner. For instance, it's possible that your love interests may live the spiritual principles that you find important, for example, forgiveness, charity, kindness, and the like, without having the same religious affiliation you do. The angels remind you that your partner, like everyone, is a holy child of God. Everyone is spiritual in truth, because everyone is spirit. Although it's not up to you to change your partner to match your spiritual path, your affirmations, prayers, and visualizations can have a positive influence on both of you and your relationship. And now, that was another good point too, you know. I'm saying maybe one of y'all actually, you know, was in this, and that the 3, you know, part of what this is because you did meet someone in church. You met someone that was a lot better for you, and this is like the wake-up call. Get the heck out of the other thing. And so sometimes it's hard to walk away, especially if it's someone that, you know, maybe you do love them. Just because you love someone else, or the love maybe isn't touching those parts of you that make you feel like you're not showing up like this in your life. People sometimes have a tendency to judge themselves for, why don't I feel this way? Or, you know, trying to make themselves do something that they can't, it's like artificial. But the truth is obvious here. Something that's rich and valuable and supportive and prosperous and generous and loving, I'm hearing. And something that really will weather the storm and stand the test of time is being blatantly ignored for somebody out of a sense of allegiance that might be false and might not be so healthy. Maybe it's because of a marriage, and it's like, I can't, and you've just heard I can't, or you don't, or whatever it is they programmed in there. And that's why they look sad. They, she, he, whomever. It doesn't have to be you, it could be an air sign too. Air sign on your mind. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. There might also be Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus. So it could be different things. One way or the other. I'm just hearing there's a lot of call for healing this month. I've been getting a lot of green stuff for heart healing. No green really showed up here, but there was a ton of blue in the center here. And blue, especially with a card like this, is always, for me, I can always say that on this. It's always an indication of healing. And a need for healing. Deep healing. And so I'm going to recommend, especially if you have like a spiritual practice or something that you're doing, seek out the parts of it that give you that comfort and that restoration, where you find, the Samaritan that rescues you, even when you don't realize that maybe you could use a hand up. It doesn't have to be a hand out. Maybe a hand up. Or just someone that's like willing to show you that they've shown up, that isn't waiting till, oh shit, they're falling. Okay, I guess I'll show up for you. So I'm praying for you, Taurus. And, if there's anything I can do, if you want a personal prayer, you feel alone, you're not, reach out for a friend. I'm always here too. My email address is below. And if I don't hear from you, well, I hope that it all works out great. I hope that this helps you think about how you're allowing yourself to be treated and how you're treating yourself and others. And I'll be back in a couple of weeks, so I'll talk to you soon. God bless you. Oh, you know what? We didn't actually close with your prayer. We gotta do the prayer. Let's do the prayer. Alright, Taurus, here we go. It's time to leave this unhealthy situation. Dear Archangel Michael, what parts of my life do I need to focus on more closely right now? Thank you for helping me hear your answers and for giving me the courage to make healthy changes in my life. Amen. Alright, Taurus, I think we're done now. For now. So, talk to you again soon. Be safe. Alright, I'm just going to light a little sage here, kind of lift the mood a bit, and then we will wrap it up with Virgo. Hey Virgo, how you doing? Happy August to you. It's August. Can you believe it? I can hardly believe it. I'm gonna go ahead and flip your cards. Alright, Virgo. Overall archetypal energy for the month using Caroline Mrs. Archetype cards. Spirit has shown us the Rescuer card for you. Didn't you get this, like, last month? I think you got this. Rescuer. Light attributes. Provides strength and support to others in crisis. Acts out of love with no expectation of reward. Shadow attributes. Assumes that the rescued will reciprocate. Keeps the rescued one needy. You know what? All you earth signs are showing up real strong as, like, heroes, heroines, saviors. The ones that come to rescue for others. You might have other earth in your chart too, I don't know, but I look at these archetypes for all the tribes too and try to look at what's similar and what different elements are going through. And so as an earth tribe, you might be interested in the Capricorn or Taurus videos too, because they had a similar energy coming up. And this is the challenge, folks. You know, this is like a context. So what it's saying is that for like the first couple weeks of the month, this is the potential sway that any energy might take on, is something along these lines. And I think a lot of it might have to do with what's happening out in the world. And I know that a lot of you earth signs, especially you Virgos, I see a lot of you here, you know, doing healing work for others, and you're showing up. You're there. You're always there for everybody. Always. And nothing's out of place. And you need to make sure that you're taking care of your needs right now. There's a lot of blue here in your spread, and there's also some green, and I've been getting like a lot of like notice from the guides to wear green. Yesterday they were like, Jakob, green bandana. Today they were like, green shirt. Tell them green, get in some green, go do some work outside, go put your feet in the grass, piggies in the dirt, squirrel your little toes around in there, you know, get green on you and really help yourself like ground. And you just give some of that back to yourself, you know, especially if you're like constantly being everybody's like pacifier, I'm hearing, or life preserver, you know, and just be careful with that. They're actually saying jump ahead to your last card, focus on divine and perfect health, Virgo. So this is actually what I'm going to wrap it up with. There's a prayer on here for y'all, but they're really just saying, like, you've been busy. You need to decompress. Take care of yourself. You know it. I'm just reminding you. I know you don't like being told that sometimes, but you can take care of yourself and not have to feel guilty for it, is the thing. Because I know some of you feel freaking guilty when you do that. And I was having the same conversation with, like, it was Capricorn and Taurus, actually. Similar stuff, you know. It's like, you don't have to, like, feel that just because you're, like, the call to action person, and maybe that's your job, or, like, your spiritual thing that you do, that it has to be them or you. And we're in a world where that's what we've been taught, and that's like really how it works, really. That's how it's been working, but we can see it's not working so great now, right? Maybe there needs to be a new sheriff in town. Maybe that sheriff knows that they gotta be in good form. They're focusing on their own health and feeling good, so they can really bring their A game here. You know, there's more to go around. It's, you know, really how that works. So, I'm gonna read you what the book says. Alright, Virgo. That's what the book looks like. Caroline misses archetype cards. Some of y'all might like this deck. It's really cool. I like it. Rescuer. 3 bullet points and a tip. First bullet point states, provides strength and support to others in crisis. Second one says, acts out of love with no expectation of reward. That sounds like most Virgos I know. Third one, Shadow Rescuer assumes that the rescued party will reciprocate and aims to keep the rescued one needy. And then there's a tip. Observe whether you have always sought to help those in peril, whether for altruistic or selfish motives. So, that's not saying that's what you do. That's saying that you might also notice that other people treat you that way. You know, maybe this is a time where you're showing up in your own world feeling pretty enlightened about the score that's been kept that maybe you didn't realize was accumulating, because maybe you weren't keeping score. I know you keep lists and stuff. I don't think those are generally shit lists though with people, but don't piss a fucking Virgo off either. You know, I mean, if you've breached it with a Virgo, you know, you've messed up, really. I mean, you kind of had to, like, you really had to push them wrong to get them showing up like this. Somebody's thinking about that, because this is what's showing up on the mind here. I know I just jumped ahead. I'll go back to the other card. I didn't even see what it was, but I was seeing y'all being enlightened about what's been going on here. Sorry, dropping cards here. Virgo. But this person here might be feeling really caught up. Maybe because they've been busy supporting everybody else, and now they're like, how did I get myself in this position? You know? Maybe they're also just realizing, shit, you know, I wasn't in it for brownie points, but y'all, you don't even really consider me. And you showed me that in a way that, although I wasn't keeping score and I wasn't trying to get anything from you, I'm gonna give myself a little time to think about and process, because it did hurt. You know what? It's okay to be aware of that and to admit that. You don't have to talk to anybody. Hangman, woman, other hanged person doesn't necessarily just go talking. This is sort of like, it's a major arcana, Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. Only 22 of these in a nearly 80 card deck, so pretty influential energy. However, the motions can be somewhat inert, meaning inwardly focused. Notice the illumination around this person's head. You know, it's kind of a little yogic looking too. You know? And I tend to feel like this is a person that could very easily get out of that tree. Like, you know, what's up? This person's in good shape. Look at that. But their abs are pretty solid. They could kind of roll up and shimmy off that tree. Maybe they don't want to. They need something supporting them right now a little bit, you know, and they're like, you know, I'm gonna enjoy this nature here that's supporting me and being firm for me. don't necessarily need it maybe, but it's there and I'm going to enjoy this. It's okay to enjoy that and not feel like you're dependent or codependent, Virgo. And if somebody made you feel codependent before, maybe you're like kind of dangling on this emotion of, you know, am I giving right, or am I not going to get it back? You know, and it not being like you're trying to get it back, but wondering if you're even going to be validated or respected or appreciated to the level of nuance that makes you the exceptional, gorgeous, beautiful, fascinating, loving, giving creature that you are so selflessly that you're probably even tormenting yourself over, am I being selfish for feeling my pain? I'm sorry, I have to say it. I know how some of you are. You know, and you're willing to kind of hang yourself for a cause, even if you don't really have to be up on that tree. You don't mind being the one to pay the price. It's okay to say that it hurts, even if you weren't in it for freaking Scooby snacks and whatever. It's okay to still feel freaking disappointed. Maybe you just need to take a break. It doesn't mean that you're weak. Just because we see rescuer here, it's not to say that, you know, if you give yourself a pause, that you need to make any assumptions about how others are going to perceive you for taking the time to be human and to take care of the vessel that allows you to invoke those qualities that you've worked for, which is why they show up like illumination and brilliance, even if you're freaking sleeping. But it's really about balance and health, especially if there's an emotional loss, or I hear even just missing someone. You know, it's like you really want to get out there and you're like, I've got something for you, and oh, I feel like my hands are tied somehow here. Like this person's kind of like trying to figure out what to do with some emotional stuff. Might not be loss, you know. This doesn't have to be loss. Mental sector card here, this energy that says 5 emotional loss is actually the John Holland interpretation of what is ordinarily known as the 5 of Cups energy in, say, like this system, which the way that one looks to me, there's a person, I'll just say person. They're also kind of cloaked like this, and you know, it can be anybody. It doesn't have to be a guy or whatever you see there. She, they, he, other. Is standing by some water. You know, and cups are always something of an emotional nature anyway, so you know, there's some kind of emotional inventorying going on, and sometimes it's just the person doing the actual inventory of what did the emotions mean. And I'm feeling like this might have had something to do with someone's marriage, really. The way they're speaking to me. Sometimes 5s will echo that depending on, you know, what spirit shows, but you know, 5 is on the same resonance, let's say. Different octave, though, of the Hierophant, which is, you know, typically shown as an older individual that symbolizes, like, the establishment, long establishment, and a hierarchy of a structure, such as like higher learning, education, religion, and things that might be in those veins. And it's kind of feeling like, you know, if somebody's taking a time to decide how to really extend some emotional stuff because of how it might have been abused before, you know, and just feeling like almost sort of like either strangled or taken advantage of in another sense. And it might have really had them hung up for a very long time, you know. I mean, this could have been a long-standing marriage. This could have been long-term commitments, you know. But there was a lot of growth and learning that happened there. And it doesn't have to be a sad card necessarily. So the reason why I was explaining all that is because sometimes how I perceive that Five of Cups card and how they were showing me this to talk to you is that, you know, yeah, the person kind of looks like they're grieving. They're definitely looking down at, like, cups. And, you know, here, this person's kind of, like, just looking sad, right? But they're also showing me that for some other people, it's more like, I had this emotion, this one, that one, and those are the ones I'm not going to deal with anymore. And they're, like, laying in bed thinking about that. And they're like, you know what? Those weren't worthy investments, and I'm kind of seeing them being the one that kicked those 3 cups over. You know, whatever those stood for. Maybe that was like bullshit, no. And then, you know, they're like, you know what? They're just counting, you know? And they're going over it. And maybe that's what this is here that you're doing. And just sort of reorienting your mind, if you will, but in a physical way while you're collecting your energy and deciding how it is that you want to put yourself forward, because this is a good time to be focused inwardly on yourself and reassessing, like, where you want to fill your cups and how you want to fill them. Because those 2 that you left behind you, they're, you know, I think you are getting ready to deal with them, and that you were just maybe thinking about what came before, because something's about to happen. Something's happening very soon. This is the personal romantic sector card during Virtues, Romance Angels, for anybody that's interested. You probably all know this deck. We all have this deck, don't we? So, very soon, you know, this is really sweet if you've got some new love or something going on. You know, maybe you're trying to figure out how to get somewhere new, rescue your own heart. And taking a moment and you're like, wow, there's a lot of energy here, and I remember what that was like before, but these 2 cups are here and I really want those cups. So it says, clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. And if that's not about romantic love coming into your life, maybe it's just like, you know, those other things that you do love, and trying to figure out, you know, what's worth it now? What do I want to keep? What do I want to rescue in my own life? What do I want to let go of? You know, what is not giving me back what I want? Am I getting my return on investment in this, that, or the other thing? And this is a very good energy to focus on that which you want to be true, because Romance Angels are saying it's coming soon. So, let's see what the book says, shall we? All right, Virgo. Very soon. Clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. This card asks you, what do you want? And demands very clear and specific answers. Just like putting in your order at a restaurant, the universe has been listening to your thoughts and feelings about your love life and has brought you what you've asked for. When you complain about what's served to you, it's only because you placed an unclear order. As soon as you are perfectly straightforward about what it is you desire, it comes to you upon the wings of angels in an instant. You drew this card because it's time for you to get clear and honest with yourself and formulate your requests with faith and optimism. Trust your feelings and make decisions for yourself about what's best for you. And please remember to focus upon divine and perfect health for you. That's going to bring you the best cups to focus on there, Virgo. You know it. Because that's the kind of advice you give to people that come to you. They come to you, don't they? A lot. It's okay to take a breather. Don't be all up in your head about feelings too much. I know that's hard to say to a Virgo. They're like, yeah, right. Y'all don't want your feels, I know. Sometimes. Sometimes you need to go through that, though. And, you know, if you have to intellectualize it a little bit and just, like, that's how I was saying it. It was like a intellectually inventorying which emotions were worth keeping, sort of. And your clarity is actually here somewhere in this. And it's okay for you to lay there and get in touch with it. And you don't have to feel like you're being overly emotional. So if that's in your mind, you know, try to let yourself off the hook, you know. You're saying, you know, put something green on. Do something that helps you feel like you're, you know, getting into your body a little bit. You know, go put your feet in some water. I hear that'll be really good. It'll help, like, give you, like, a feeling of, like, being fertilized, you know. Earth needs to be fertilized. That's okay. That's another way to move water, you know. If you don't want to hit it emotionally, sometimes just, you know, you can access the energies via proxy methods like that. So, you know, allow Gaia to be your energetic proxy if you need that. Or hang out with some people that maybe have a little water in their chart, is what I'm hearing too. That might be really healing for you. So, alright, Virgo, I think that's all I got. So I'm going to wrap this one up with a prayer here from Archangel Michael. Focus on divine and perfect health. Dear God and Archangel Michael, thank you for continuously reminding me to focus upon perfect health and for guiding my actions so that they support my well-being. Amen. Alright, Virgo, that's what I got for you. I hope you liked it. And if you want somebody to pray for you, you know, my email address is just below. And if I don't hear from you, well, just enjoy it. Take your time. Try. Give yourself the space that you need. Take a vacation, if you can. Breathe. Put your feet in the ground. Yeah, and I'm going to say the same thing that I told, I think it was Aries? Maybe it was some of the fire signs. Maybe it was all of them. I don't remember right now, but just try to come down from your head somewhat, you know, and get in your feet a little bit. Just feel your feet. And slow your breathing down. Just try to feel your feet, you know. That might be a good thing to do for some of you. Yeah, okay, I'm making this long now, so they just gave me that parting thought. I'm keeping y'all in my prayers, and I'll be back in a couple of weeks. So like, share, subscribe if you did, and I'll see you soon.